One of the questions I'm often asked is, "Hey, Azul, how can I reach my retirement goals sooner?" And oftentimes what people mean by that is, can I get there sooner by working harder? And the short answer is yes. Yes, you can, but there's a better way. And that's what this video is about, the better way. So let's get to the person working harder. What do they mean by that? What they mean is maybe a second job, or a side hustle, or sacrificing more so that they can save instead of saving 15 or 20%, so that they can save 30, 40, 50%. But what they're doing is they're sacrificing today's enjoyment in the hopes that they'll have more enjoyment later. And maybe that'll happen, maybe they won't. What I think is a better way is to play better defense as opposed to better offense. So, what do I mean by better defense? And by better defense, what I mean is making better decisions and avoiding making costly mistakes. So, let's talk about what the four major things are that cause people to make mistakes, or do things that end up delaying their retirement. So, and the first one is becoming a forced seller in a down market. Now, how do people become forced sellers in a down market? Down market like we've recently seen as I record this. Well, there's a couple ways. One is they need the cash, right? Either they have loans coming due, which is more on the professional side of things, or on the personal side of things, they need the money for living expenses. Either they're retired, and they need that for their retirement income, or in this case, if somebody may not have an emergency fund and they have an unexpected broken arm, the average American, over 50% of Americans say they could not afford a $1,000 unexpected car repair, unexpected medical condition. Um, they could not pay that out of cash. They'd have to put that on their credit card or borrow from somebody. So being a forced seller because you need that cash, or worse, you're paying 24, 25% each year interest. I mean, think about that. You're basically signing yourself up for a 24% loss or a 29% loss each year. That's kind of what the credit card deal is with us, right? So having an emergency fund or having buckets in retirement so we don't have to sell stocks when they're low in order to meet our cash flow needs. So that's number one. Number two is sometimes people become forced sellers in a down market, not because they need the cash, but because they need the pain to stop. The market's down. Maybe when they were younger, they were able to weather the storm in the dot-com bubble. They were able to weather the storm during the great financial crisis, maybe even during COVID, which was really hard to do because it was the fastest drawdown ever in U.S. history. It was also one of the fastest recoveries in U.S. history. But just because you've done that in the past doesn't mean you'll be able to do that in the future. It's a good sign if you've been able to navigate bear markets in the past. But what happens as we get older is the pain of loss, the pain of those negative markets increases, and it can increase quite a bit. What I've seen is once people are no longer bringing in new money in the form of their paycheck, the pain doesn't just increase. It's not 20% or 50% more. Oftentimes it's 3 times more painful, 5 times more painful, maybe 10 times. And so thinking through that ahead of time is really important. So knowing what your cash flow needs are, and the gold standard to help you with that would be, of course, working with a financial advisor. Mea culpa. I was a financial advisor for over 20 years, so I'm biased. Many folks are never going to invest the money paying 1% a year to a financial advisor. If that's you, I urge it not to use Excel, not to use Google Sheets. It's just too easy to make a mistake. Use software that's designed for you to help come up with a plan. There's a certain confidence, and that's really what you're looking for, is confidence. That comes from knowing your plan is right, that you've thought about everything that you can. Now, there's things we'll never be able to think about, right? Or come up with an answer. What's inflation going to be 2 years from now? What's the stock market going to do over the next 10 years? What are tax rates going to be, not just in 5 years, but What are they gonna be in 2026 as I record this? None of us know. Are the Trump tax rates going away, or are they gonna stay with us? But for the things that you can control, you wanna make sure that you've thought about the right things and you've put in good information there, and using professional software will help you with that. The software I like is called Bolden. You can use it used to be called New Retirement. There's a QR code here that you can click on, or down in the show notes, you can leave a link. You can click on that, and you'll be supporting the channel. They have, I believe it's a 2-week free trial, and it's very affordable. It's about $120 a year. This video is not sponsored by Bolden, but I am an affiliate. Okay, let's keep going. What's the next mistake people make? The next mistake, and it's hard, there's 20 of them. But I would say one of the big mistakes that I see is over supporting adult children that can now take care of themselves. And maybe that's helping them with a down payment on a home, or helping them buy a car, or buying them a new car. Um, or maybe they want to go back to grad school and get their PhD or get their master's, and helping them with that. Well, you know what? There's loans for a home. They're called mortgages. There's loan for a car. They're called car loans. And there's loans to go back to school. They're called student loans. But you know what there's not loans for? There's no loans for retirement. And it's not like we're going to go back to our kids and say, actually, that money I gave you for the down payment on your house, or that money that I paid for you to get your master's, I want to retire early now. And can I get that money back? Few of us are going to do that. So that can be something that, it's you can play a good game of offense, but you've taken one step forward and then 2 steps back. So it's avoiding doing things like that. So there's adult children, and then there's, frankly, just avoiding some of the main traps that we get into, which is, maybe wanting some expensive toys. Mea culpa, I've owned small airplanes in the past. They're not as expensive as people think. But I don't want that now. So it's airplanes, it's boats. I don't want a boat, but I want a friend that has a boat. And then RVs are another one that I see. Now, RVs can be a great thing, but sometimes I see people go out and buy a brand new $200,000, $300,000 RV, and they've never rented one first. My wife and I want to do a summer RVing, but we're going to rent one for a month first and see how we like it. And then in our case, we've always bought used cars. So we'll probably buy a used one, fingers crossed, hope for the best, own it for a summer, and then turn around, hopefully sell it the following summer, and not lose too much. So again, can you work harder in order to get to retirement sooner? You can. But I think it's much better to play a good game of offense so that you can enjoy the journey along the way. If you enjoyed this video, the YouTube algorithm says this is the next video of mine that you'll enjoy watching. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.